the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. It's a packed house today. Will the city recorder please call roll?
Mayor Giacola,
Present.
Council President Steinhebel. Here. Councilor Conti. Here. Councilor Mann.
Here.
Councilor Savage. Councilor McLean. Here. And Councilor Workman.
I will move on to consent calendar. The following items are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussions on these items unless the councilor so requests. In that case, the items will be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately. Lebanon City Council agenda, July 23rd, 2025, council meetings from 2025-0709 executive session meetings and 2025-0709 work session and regular meeting minutes. OLCC license request, Little Bombshell, and US Mini Mart 3. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made to approve. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. As far as I know, there's no presentations or recognitions, public comments. I don't see any public here. If there is, please raise your hand. Okay. We'll move on to public hearing, ordinance bill 2025-06, public hearing regarding the amendment of Lebanon Municipal Code, section 3.24 is now open at 12:02. City attorney doesn't need to read anything. So will the finance director present your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So before you is an amended ordinance or an amending ordinance to update some of the language related to our city services fee. We are bringing this forward because there was some discrepancies between what was included in the resolution that was ultimately adopted and the original ordinance that was adopted back in November of 2024, specifically surrounding what to do with undeveloped properties. So at the present moment, what is occurring is the resolution states that the finance director or designee has kind of the decision-making authority on what to do with vacant properties, undeveloped properties, and I'm supposed to take into account what the property is potentially going to be used for, size of potential development, and make it an ultimate determination. And so what we are doing with this ordinance is just updating the language from that original ordinance to just say properties across the city instead of just developed properties, just cleaning things up. Can certainly answer any questions the council has related to that, but it's just a minor change.
Are we just talking about maintenance or cleanups?
Yeah, this is just cleanup so that the resolution that was ultimately adopted for establishing the specific fee rate matches what our ordinance says, and making sure that we're doing things the right way.
So what you're saying is we're cleaning up the code?
Yeah.
Okay. What's it look like for those undeveloped property? I'll ask the questions in a public forum since we're...
Yeah. So typically what we do is look at the specific property in question. We look at what the property is zoned for. We'll look at what similar properties may or currently hold, and then make a determination on what the fee should be. So for example, if the property is zoned single-family residential, we'll give it the $18 rate. And the idea here is that those vacant properties, or the undeveloped properties, still utilize or require services across the city, right? So we still have potential code enforcement for various properties. They still need planning services across the city, potentially, they may need the services of the municipal court, all of these things that the city services fee goes to cover. If it is a multifamily property, then it may get the slightly higher rate, the $45 a month, which is what we would bill to like a duplex, for example, or the heavy residential would obviously be kind of the $18 by door, but since we don't have a door count on a vacant property, then we just establish kind of whatever may potentially exist. And then, commercial properties, we try to base on what size the building may be, what potential meter size they could end up with. We try to be pretty fair about what that could potentially look like in the future.
Any other questions of staff? All righty. Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor of this issue? Anybody who would like to speak in opposition? Public hearing is hereby closed at 12:06. All further discussions will be limited to council and staff at this time. Is there any discussion to be had?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a motion?
A motion to amend the ordinance as stated.
I still need to read it. A bill amending ordinance number 3026 in Lebanon Municipal Code Section 3.24, City Services Fee Ordinance Bill number 2025-06, Ordinance number 3037.
Now is there a motion?
Motion to approve as stated.
Second.
Motion's been moved to approve as stated. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to regular sessions. Gila Lake Park Improvement Project Award. I'm going to turn it over to City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. What we have before you today is an approval to award a contract for pre-construction phase services for the Cheetah Lake project. If you remember back on May 23rd, we actually on May 23rd, we sent out proposals for the Cheetah Lake project. Prior to that, this body had recommended and approved that we use an alternative bid delivery system, which is the CMGC Construction Manager General Contractor. We received 6 proposals. We reviewed those proposals, myself, Jason Williams, and Brian Vendetta from Udell Engineering. We have a scoring criteria that's laid out for those. And the top score of the proposals was Knife River. And it was very close between them and Emery & Sons. We have issued notice of intent to award to Knife River for the pre-construction phase services, which is about $34,000. The reason we have this before you today is that we'll likely see what we call a guaranteed maximum price as we build this project out, which would come before this body to approve as well, be much higher contract. So we're just starting that process. We'll get the contract for the initial services, which those would include some cost estimating, likely some value engineering to see if we can get the project into the funding that we have, which right now the latest and greatest cost estimate is about $7 to $7.5 million. We have available anywhere between 5.5 to 6. So we got our work cut out for us there. And that's the beauty of using a CMGC project. We can bring them in. They can give us ideas and we can scope the project to fit within the dollars that we have. So with that, I would recommend an award to Knife River for the CMGC services for the Cheetah Lake Park improvements. And I can answer any questions you may have.
Can you remind me the amount of money that we have from the state for this? Is that the 5.5 to 6?
So we have 2.2 or $2.3 million left from a Christmas tree bill that was done in, it was 22, 23, somewhere in that neighborhood. And then we have $1 million large government grant. And then we have the remainder in park system development charges.
Okay.
So that's where the funding comes for the project.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I would just make a comment. I think that Knife River hires more Lebanon residents than Emery and Sons do.
Okay.
And that tends to sway me towards Knife River as well.
Yeah, they provided a good proposal, and they're more than capable with the work that's going to be done out there. So they've got a good crew that'll do it.
I do want to make it clear that that unfortunately is not one of the factors that we're entitled to rely on in awarding the contract. And I would rely on the ability of Knife River and the proposal that they provided.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Then we'll move on. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve Knife River.
Yep, second.
Motion's been made to approve Knife River. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, moving on to items from council. Is there any items that council would like to bring out public forum? This one's fast. We're going fast today.
Could you state that question?
Is there any items from council you'd like to talk about?
Sure. I'd like to talk about the stipend. Does anybody else want to talk about it? I'm going to be honest with you about something. It sticks in my craw. It pisses me off. I feel that we've been demeaned and devalued. I feel that that if we asked anybody else, city employee, if they would like to forego some of their salary or whatever they're being paid for the benefit of the city, I think that you would probably generate a lot of anger. I think that it's not about the money to me. It's the principle of it. It was stated that we only spend 2 or 3 hours a month doing this. And that if that's the case, shame on you. Shame on my fellow counselors if that's all you're doing. You're not doing your research. You're not doing your job. You're not out there talking to people about it, about the issues of the city. I think that anybody that cheats me or cheats me just sticks in my craw. That's my opinion, and I'm done talking about it. Anybody else want to chime in? I'd be more than happy to listen.
Any comments or response? Okay, thank you. Is there any other items? Go ahead.
So our August agenda looks really light, as in it may just be the audit. And we do have a work session scheduled for the second meeting in August, and that is because our consultant can't be here on the first meeting. If it is only the audit, is there a consensus here that you still want to hold that first meeting, or what's everybody's?
Wouldn't it make more
preference?
sense just to push it into one meeting?
Yes, we could do that, and that would be the thought
At
process.
the end of the month,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think there's
We'll wait
anything-
and see. I mean, there's always things that tend to pop up, but if that's all it is within like our notice timeframe, Julie, what is that, a week? Somewhere in there. We'll look at that. If something else comes up, we'll just go ahead and go with the meeting, but for all intents and purposes, that we could do that in one meeting instead of having two. So it'd be a noon meeting if everybody's amenable to that.
Just a reminder that I'll be out of town starting on the 19th of August.
Yes. Okay. Okay, well, I'll let you know. We'll send out an email one way or the other, letting you know. Okay.
All righty, thank you. Any other items? Okay. Public or press? I don't see anybody.
I don't even have the press here.
Next scheduled council meeting tentatively is August 13th, 2025. So just as city manager just mentioned, that possibly could change. So what we'll do is I'll adjourn this meeting and we'll move right into the work session unless someone needs a break. Okay. This meeting is adjourned at 12:15. call to order. I'll let them sit down, I guess. I'll let Jason sit down.
Yeah, let him sit down.
I'll call to order the work session. And I'll turn it over to City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I would like to everybody to meet Stephen Haney. He is our wastewater treatment plant, water treatment plant manager. So for those of you that don't know Stephen, he's the guy that does all the real work out there and has to listen to Jason quite a bit. So, give him some grace here and there. Anyway, so we're here to talk to you today about wastewater. These guys are the experts. They're going to do a lot of it. I'll kind of give you an agenda overview. We're going to talk a little bit about the regulatory framework, and they'll get into our draft permit, project review of the draft master plan. We're getting really close to having a master plan. That took forever, but they wanted to kind of coincide that with our draft permit, which we received a week or two ago. We're going to talk about funding strategy, some alternatives, and possibly some solutions that we've got that could stave some of this off. We're looking at everything we can and kind of the risk of inaction and then next steps. And as you go through this, please feel free to ask questions as we're going through it. This is all geared towards our goal setting that'll likely be in November now. And giving you the information that you need so that we can set some priorities in November when we have that goal setting session. So with that, I will turn it over to Jason and we will go forward.
I think it's supposed to be in October.
We were doing October, but there was a couple of staff that couldn't make the October, so we're going to do the November council meetings.
Okay.
And we'll send out an email on that
Okay.
as well.
Thanks, Ron. Mr. Mayor, members, council, thanks for listening to us today. This might not be the funnest subject we'll ever talk about, but it's definitely necessary. Like Ron said, we'll kind of go through the PowerPoint. Our NPDES permit we received in this form. It's for agency review. They give us a whopping 2 weeks to go through it all. We extended that. We asked for an extension until August 22nd. And then from there, this will get submitted for public comment. So you'll see members of the public being able to comment on our permit. Our last permit was issued in 2004. It's been expired for quite some time. And in this new permit, the memo that I handed out to you guys in front of your desk there, that Stephen put together, kind of shows some of the changes. It's 2 pages of changes that we'll have to navigate if this proposed permit ends up being what we have when we're done. Our plan is to push back on items that we think are unnecessary or unwarranted. And we'll see how that goes. We're not super optimistic, but it's our job to do that. Some of these are really heavy lifts. They change what we do in our lab. They add considerable amount more sampling. Some parameters are tighter. As I'm sure you're all aware, when this permit gets drafted and whatever numbers they're put in here that we have to follow are never going to get easier to meet. So it's just going to get tougher as this thing goes. There's nothing that shocked us in here that we were really afraid of being able to manage with our plant. But knowing how it works, we're going to talk about eliminating some things. So, the Clean Water Act that was enacted in 1972, required everybody to provide secondary treatment. So we have effluent limits and biochemical oxygen demand and suspended solid removal and nutrient parameters that we follow. The EPA is issuing right now, or they're in the process of a study with DEQ to come up with the PFAS rule. We have zero idea what that's going to look like. They don't either. We believe that nothing will happen until it's legislated. So we're just kind of at that mercy. As a result of discussions, DEQ has begun to really drill down on our land application for our Class B biosolids, which is where this would come into effect. So now this summer, we would typically be hauling our sludge, a Class B product that's been neutralized, to a ryegrass field and disposing of it there. Right now, we're putting it in dumpsters after we thicken it, and it's going to the landfill. This PFAS rule will affect landfills as well, because their leachate is one of the largest, I mean, that's one of the biggest concerns is the leachate that comes from landfills. So we're really concerned about this issue. We lost a wintertime field that we were using last year. We've been told from our regulators that it would be really difficult to get anything permitted at this point until these things are known. So we're working through it as we learn what the ever-moving regulation will be. Our master plan, it's hit my inbox early this week or last week for review. There's nothing in there that we haven't really talked about with this body. The known conditions are still there. Our biosolids problem, our liquid stream capacity issues. It should be completed in a draft to give to you in this later part of the summer. Yes, Mr. Kennedy.
Mr. Williams, you raised an issue of, I know we've always put the sludge, or we have historically used the sludge on some of the ryegrass fields. Has there ever been any discussion, or have you looked into using the sludge on tree farms?
None that I've been involved in.
And do you know if that would be the same regulations that would apply?
Well, my understanding, and Stephen can speak up here because he knows more than I do, but my understanding is it just has to be a non-crop, non-food crop or non-feed crop.
Public access would be an issue with the tree farm.
Yeah, so it might have some
I'm
conditions.
sorry, I couldn't hear what he said.
Public access.
Yeah, and I was thinking more of private tree farms. And the reason I ask is, as you know, my wife's family has some tree farms, and there's actually been some research that they're doing about in other areas, and I don't know if it's in Oregon or other states, where they're seeing pretty incredible yields of plots that are being tested with the kind of sludge that you're talking about. So I don't know if that's, and I know we got plenty of tree farms around here. So anyways, it was just something that when you raised that issue, it reminded me that I had been looking into that anyways. So anyways, I just wanted to know.
Well, one of the things that I think is a key takeaway for this. Jason and I went to the Aqua Conference, which is the Association of Clean Water Association of Oregon last week. And the Class B biosolids, I mean, and just some of their preliminary stuff is going to get drilled down so tight that we may or may not be able to. It'd be the same concept where Class B, I think, is eventually going to go away. They're not coming out right and saying that right now, but you can kind of read between the lines on this. And I think another thing here that is a little bit hard for us is counting on our fields. If somebody changes a crop, then we don't have that field. We're at a loss. And to try and permit new fields is there's a lot of work that goes into that. So that's where we think that Class B is going. It's kind of being legislated right now. And so that's why I think probably be the same thing there for a tree farm, my guess, just based on what we're hearing industry side.
But as a note to that, one of the things that we're looking at is creating a Class A product, which then could be used on any public land. There's really not as many restrictions on that at all. And that's just, one of the things we've told this body is the liquid stream capacity. With the ever-changing PFAS issues that are rising and spending $6,300 a dumpster to dump them at the landfill, we've shifted our focus. Steve did a really good job of diving in to figure out other ways to help with our liquid stream capacity issues. It's about oxygen uptake and removal in our aeration basins. He has a pretty good handle on how to make that happen. So we're elevating the biosolids as our top priority now.
And if you do that, does it become something that you then sell? It's such a high quality that you can actually sell it? and
Yeah,
recoup some of the
absolutely.
money?
A lot of cities do. We went up and looked at the city of Camus's dryer a week or two ago, and they can't keep it. It's gone instantly. So they have a deal with a certain farmer that comes in and gobbles it up. The great part about it, and the most exciting thing to me, say something happens with Class A eventually, that the PFAS isn't removed and we have to do something different with it. So just right now, we haul our cake. Many of you that toured the plant know what that looks like. We haul that in a 16 to 24% solid capacity. So we press it down through our belt press and filter it down to that percentage of solids. That means we're hauling 84% liquid to the landfill, and we're paying for that. In a dryer, we'll get into the 90s, 90%, 95% removal of liquids. So it condenses the product down into a much more manageable, easier to get rid of product. So our construction priority projects, here's the fun part. Our liquid stream capacity focus by the master plan is projected to be around $31 million. And that's to build an oxidation ditch, work on the activated sludge process, increase our biological treatment volume and resilience, and then building a new clarifier to mirror clarifier 4 to replace our old failing ones. The solid stream project would be $35 million per estimate, and that would install a centrifuge, some buildings to house the equipment, and a dryer. The dryer we can buy in segments, and they're expandable. It's just kind of a Lincoln log project, so it makes it great for increasing capacity in the future if we had partners involved. The ops building, $4 million to get that office building that doesn't have a tank of raw sewage above it that sometimes comes inside. And so total projects are about 70 million approximate.
I have a quick question, maybe not quick, but the dryer, is it on a conveyor system and the solids go through there? So we expand that. If it takes, okay, I see. You'd be able to put more throughput as you lengthen it. So-
Yeah, it's time and temperature is
Okay.
how you get to that Class A.
Okay, I got you.
So it's the distance the belt has to travel at the 1200 or 1400 degrees, whatever that number was. Helps you meet that goal.
What
And
do
it
you,
comes out the other end in pellets.
what do you do with the old clarifiers? Do they just get scrapped or do they get sold or?
Yeah, they won't be able to be sold. They're concrete tanks below ground. They're just, our
just
issue with the old clarifiers is they're so shallow, we can't
Right.
keep the solids in them.
Understood. I was just curious.
Yeah. We'd probably end up scrapping them out.
Yeah.
So some of our funding strategies, we do have some cash. We've been saving in reserve. It only leaves a gap of 50 million. You guys should be able to find that. There's some loan options with forgivable principal. We're working through every stone we can. We're turning over, trying to find some state and federal money, direct appropriations, working with the regional solutions team. We don't want this all. And it's important to note, I guess it'd be a good time to do that. This dollar amount is completely driven by regulation. These aren't things we want to do to make our life easier or less complicated. These are things that we're being told, you will meet these criteria moving forward. So we're trying really hard to get out in front. And like I said, Stephen's been looking at alternative treatment processes to help with our liquid stream so we could focus on biosolids. Whether that works completely out or not, it's too early to tell, but it's definitely our goal. The last thing we want to come down and say, hey, we need $50 million right now. You can have this one, Ron.
Such a great guy. So on Jason, to piggyback on what he said, so we are not alone in this. So we spent some time up at the state capitol this year. We actually testified for the capital construction bill. And I was completely shocked at how many, it was 2 rooms full of people, at how many different wastewater agencies were up there with some of the same issues that we have. So we're not alone in that. So with that, we have worked with the COG, as we're working through grants. We've gone through, Kelly's done a lot of work with our legislators and digging through grants, what's available. I think the only one that we really found was a CDBG grant, which is limited to $2.5 million, but they don't allow a CMGC process or an alternative bid, say a progressive design build. We feel that that's extremely important in a project this big to be able to have a contractor come in early that can help you with constructability issues, getting true costing done rather than just your typical design bid build. So that one doesn't really fit our need, and you can see through here. One of the other things that we learned this last week is the Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund is going to substantially decrease. And when I say decrease, there was a huge pile of money that went into it from the Infrastructure Act that was passed a couple of years ago, and that money's running out. So it'll still be whole. And again, that's a loan program with some forgivable principal. We don't know what that looks like. We have advocated for more forgivable principal with our legislators, but we'll see what that looks like as we go through. Just to give you a rough idea, so we did a quick calculation on, what would 50 million look like? And again, these are round, raw numbers. Anytime you're doing a master plan, they are, and I would look for those to come down. But I mean, at this juncture, there's so many unknowns before you start it. That's where they're at. Now they're not going to come down hugely, but I think they would come down. But on a $50 million 30-year payback, you're looking at about a 28.5% increase to a utility bill and about a 60% increase in wastewater to do those. So what we're saying is we don't have the answer to what that dollar figure is. We know it's something. We know that we're going to have to spend some money out there. And so we should probably look at incrementally raising rates as we move through the next couple of years. And I think another important piece of this, and we'll probably cover it later, any project we start today, we're 3 years at a minimum before that project's operational. I mean, by the time you go through, let's say we were going to pull a loan, you got to go through the CWSRF program. Well, that's 8 to 9 months before you know if you're going to get the money. You've got a design process, then you bring a contractor on board. You've got probably a year and a half's worth of construction. So 3 years is a short time frame. Our water treatment plant took us 8. By the time we got through all that, and by the time we did design, so there's a long time in there. You want me to keep going with alternatives?
No.
Okay,
It's good
you
enough.
got it.
Yeah, so in the alternatives discussion, when we talk about solids, like Ron said, many municipalities are in the same boat we are. Lebanon is unique in the fact that we have so much adjacent city-owned property. So we're interested in vetting out whether we do a regional biosolids handling facility. So these other cities that are in the same issue are paying us for the disposal of their solids through our new means. We would like to control that from the start. We don't want to have someone else hold the straw. We'll control our own destiny in that project. So we would look for involvement kind of not after the fact, but the way we can construct this technology, we can do it after the fact as long as the footprint's large enough. So if we had somebody sign on with us, it's nothing for us to put a new segment of belt on. And that would fund itself. We have, in our liquid stream, like I said, Steve's been working on some alternatives. We think we can add some more oxygen from the bottom of our aeration basins to help us meet our permit requirements now and into the future. So we're optimistic that liquid stream project would be drastically lower cost than what you saw on the slide.
One more thing about the regional solution for biosolids. When we say Lebanon holds the straw or the facility is here in Lebanon, we know that we're going to have to build this anyway. It becomes really cumbersome to go to other cities and say, hey, make a capital investment into our wastewater plant, as it would be if we, let's say, Albany had this technology and we said, oh, we're going to give you $5 million to help a capital project that you own. I think what happens with that is it's contracts afterwards, so that you're dealing with, different cities bringing you that's our concept anyway. And I think it probably could gain some traction with DEQ and others, especially if we're getting away from the Class B. But I just wanted to clarify why we'd look at it that way.
So this is if we build it, they will come.
Yeah, I mean, we'd build it to service us. And like Jason said, this is pretty Lego-y. It can be built out and you can have other contracts because every other city is going to be in the same boat.
So as we evaluate this before we come to talk to you about it, again, everything is being driven by regulation. There's still a little bit unknown, but we're really confident in the changes coming for Class B biosolids. Midwest states have already banned the use and land application of Class B biosolids. So it's just going to trickle its way here. So our alignment is, working on upgrading the wastewater treatment plant to meet regulation. We went over the costs. If we do nothing and we just wait till regulation comes out and demands that we do it, we'll be on a consent order and we'll have to have a moratorium on development, all the things that nobody in this room wants to deal with. So I think it's important that we look to the future to make sure we're in a position to continue to grow. It's been a heck of a process to get through, and I really hate the gray when it comes to regulation. We don't like not knowing because the financial impacts are so huge. But we're doing our best to have a good understanding.
That last slide that we had up there kind of ties in with what we're doing with goal setting. It kind of gives you an idea of who's going to be involved, what those risks are. So as we are going through goal setting, you've got that information in front of you. And you'll see all of the different, like for the jail, for the wastewater plant, and those as we go through that process.
So the takeaways, we kind of talked those through pretty well. Do you guys have any questions of staff?
Sure. You have any idea of what operating costs are going to increase resulting from the permit renewal changes?
Great question. No, and we had started that discussion and we started trying to pencil that out. And that was the framework for this memo. But I will get you that information. I don't have it off the top of my head. Just the manpower involved in adopting these 2 pages of new procedures and processes, testing. So this is all new to us. It all came from this document, and I can give you guys a copy of that if you want to review it. Like I said, from from us on August 22nd. This will go to public comment. It'll be released to the public, asked to comment on that. The first permit renewal I've ever been involved in since the last one expired in 2004. I wasn't here yet, but we're working our way through it.
Can you go back one slide, please?
Sure.
So on the capital cost column, you have 31 for liquid stream, but you were talking about another way of possibly doing it. Would it reduce that by, do you have any idea?
I don't, I would, and it's going to be a guess, but I would say we're going to be looking at a $2 million improvement versus a $31 million improvement. It's just adding fine bubble diffusers to the bottom of our existing aeration basins. So there's no tear down, no removal, no rebuild. It's just adding oxygen capacity.
Okay.
And that's really a wild guess. I have no clue. But as we continue down this process, we'll get that information. And as Ron alluded to earlier when he was talking about Cheetah Lake, these are master plan numbers. These are, I'm confident that it's not going to take us $35 million to build a solids handling system, but that's the only number we have. We haven't legged it out yet.
All righty. Is there any other questions, comments, discussion? All right. Does that conclude your? Did you need anything from us?
Nope, we don't.
Okay.
We don't. I think it's important for the council to understand why this is being done. We will probably be proposing an incremental rate increase to wastewater. We know we're going to do something. Obviously, we're not going to go, hey, we need $50 million, because we don't have that answer right now. But we know, hard fact, that we're going to have to do something. And we've got 20 million set aside. And what's that number look like? So I think it's just in preparation and getting everybody up to speed, answering questions, and continuing the discussion as we move through it.
So I know we decided not to do the rate increase as part of the budget this last cycle. Are we talking about an not during the budget cycle rate increase?
No,
Okay.
I think we do it same concept. Again, until we have a little more handle on the PFAS issue, biosolids. I mean, these guys are touring plants right now and drilling down with our consultant on, okay, what are these costs, right? And we're using master plan costs, which, they took a pretty good look at it. But again, until you dig into it, you don't know how much piping you're going to have or just various, oh, geez, this is all in the way. We're going to have to move this over here. And so you put that number out there and you try and come under that, I guess, is the goal. But once you put a number out, it kind of stays out, So we're hesitant to go any lower than that because we don't really know the answer until we've got a good design on it and can see where we're going.
And in the meantime, I think it's important to note we continue to find gifts from 1974 that rear their head. I think right now we've got 2 faulty rake screens, so there's times when we have labor up there, a person raking the protrusibles off the screen coming in the influent. So that's the only choice we have. So we're rebuilding things as we go.
What was that word?
Protrusibles?
Yeah.
It's all the stuff you're not supposed to flush down the toilet that comes to plant.
He was just impressed with your big word.
I learned it.
Any other questions, comments?
Well, Jason, maybe we should examine the thought of, instead of coming before the council and asking for an increase every so often, that we should have a resolution that states that maybe we should do a 1 or 2% increase every 4 months or 6 months or something like that. Because I think that every time that issue comes up before the public, they all get up in arms and they get mad about it. And, Michelle kind of discussed it in detail at the last possible increase.
Sure.
You know, that, hey, we can't keep kicking this thing down the road. So maybe we should start talking about a resolution that states that, you know, we should have a 1 or 2% increase every 6 months without coming to the council or whatever. Is that a
Yeah,
possibility of something
Hopefully,
like that?
that could probably come out of goal setting, right? We could chart some framework like that.
Yeah, I think you can. I also think it's really important that we have the communication, so you know why the rates are being raised, so that the public knows why that they're being raised. I'm not opposed to an inflationary every year, but I also think it's important for this body to know why we're raising rates. And obviously you do, but I think sometimes that can get lost if we just do it like that. But then again, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'm unwilling to just have it be a every 6 month without coming to us kind of situation, just because that is one of our primary responsibilities as council is fiscal. So I would like my hands on it each time personally, but
And I think it allows us time to get some more accurate numbers to give you guys for representation. I'd feel bad asking for anything right now. with
Yeah,
the
and-
unknowns.
I mean, on a minimal basis, yes. So what we can, if we've got 20 million set aside right now, what does that look like as we continue down this path? I mean, maybe we look at it and we get a preliminary design done and it's only 30 million, right? I mean, I'm just using round numbers, but I think we want to be fairly accurate with what we come to with a rate increase, as opposed to, well, we just need to raise them. And I know incrementally, for a time being, we can do that because we're obviously going to have to in order to get there. But I also, I would feel awkward, I think, if we didn't come before this body and at least explain why we were raising rates. I think it's really important for you all and the public to know each time, even if it's repetitive and redundant. I think it's important that we put that in front of you.
Personally, I'm thankful that it's being addressed now and not waiting until it slaps us in the face and all of a sudden, nobody can flush their toilet in town, you know?
Yeah, we thank you for that. We learned some good lessons in the water treatment plant process, especially about rate increases and slamming them on the public all at once and wait until it was too late.
All righty. Well, you have anything else? Thank you so much for the briefing. A lot to take in and a lot to think about. So if there's no other questions or comments, I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 12:49.